What's new today in AI? Forget last week. We are locking in exclusively on November 8th, 2025. Today, the focus is, well, it's kind of defined by this massive paradox. You've got India dropping a comprehensive national governance framework, right? While at the same time, the custom chip war demands billions in capital expenditure, just huge sums. And yet, somehow, one deceptively simple research breakthrough slashes agent cost by nearly 99%. So yeah, we're going to unpack this tension between efficiency and scale. Okay, let's get into it.
That tension is exactly the core story of the day.
Yeah.
November 8th is really marked by these coordinated policy rollouts in Asia, alongside just staggering infrastructure investments in the West. We are definitely watching a simultaneous geopolitical and technological tug of war. It feels like half the market is betting on hyperscale. Bigger is better, and the other half is proving hyper-efficiency can win. Our mission today for you is to synthesize these global developments from cutting-edge research to the very real policy risks, all locked to this single date.
Okay, let's start with the breakthroughs then, because the efficiency gains here, they fundamentally challenge the current economic models of AI, don't they? Our first research highlight is from Anthropic. They're detailing a huge restructuring of their model context protocol agents, or MCP. They call it code execution with MCP.
Right. And what they realized essentially is that agents, as currently designed, are incredibly wasteful, really inefficient. They would just flood the model's expensive context window with these massive data payloads, tool definitions, full documents, lengthy intermediate results, every single time they needed to call an external tool. So Anthropic's fix. The model now generates TypeScript code, and that code executes in a sandboxed environment, managing all that large data locally outside the main context window.
Wait, hang on, 98.7% reduction in token usage. Is that right? That's the metric they reported for a typical workflow. Is this a sustainable fix, or is Anthropic just patching a fundamental flaw that maybe shouldn't have existed in the first place?
Well, it certainly forces agent builders to finally take code execution security seriously, which is good. But the cost benefit is just transformative. Think about it. If you can run an agent for nearly 99% less cost, the whole unit economics of generative AI just change overnight. It potentially makes those debt-fueled massive hardware bets, like the ones we'll talk about later, a bit riskier, because the need for raw compute might just be optimized away faster than anyone planned.
That is a crucial insight. Really sharp point. Okay, so if cost is plummeting, the next big hurdle is quality and reliability, right?
Yeah.
And on the academic front, we also saw a valuable update on how models handle summarizing long documents. Researchers introduced something called QA prompting, coming out of Georgia Institute of Technology.
Yeah, and this is a fine-tuning-free technique that's important because it means no expensive retraining. It addresses what's called positional bias. That's the model's tendency to, favor facts found at the very start or the very end of a long document. So with QA prompting, the model first answers specific domain-related questions about the text, and then it generates the summary based on those extracted facts. Pretty clever.
And the performance uplift is measurable, you're saying?
Absolutely. They saw up to 29% OG score improvements in summarization benchmarks. OG, for those maybe less familiar, is basically a standard measure. It tells you how accurate and complete a generated summary is compared to one written by a human.
So a 29% jump means significantly less garbage, more trustworthy output on those really long, dense documents.
Exactly. More reliable summaries without paying the high cost of retraining. But speaking of reliability, if agents are getting cheaper, we definitely need better ways to measure their actual competence, how well they really work in the real world. And that leads us neatly to the Terminal Bench development team's update.
Ah, yes, Terminal Bench 2.0. They released that with a new containerized testing framework called Harbor. This sounds like it's all about standardizing evaluation for autonomous AI agents, specifically on realistic terminal-based tasks, like command line stuff.
Precisely. And this standardization is long overdue. It really is. The initial leaderboard they published provides a key reality check on the current state of AI agency. OpenAI's Codex CLI, that's the one powered by GPT-5, it's leading the pack, but, and this is the important part, only with a 49.6% success rate.
Wow, less than 50%.
Right. It really highlights just how far autonomous agents still have to go before they are truly trustworthy, especially in production environments. Lots of work still needed.
Okay. And finally, just a quick nod to Google Research's theoretical architecture, nested learning. What's a quick take on that?
So this is Google tackling the core challenge of catastrophic forgetting in AI models. You can kind of think of it like dividing the model's processing into different layers or nests. Some learn fast, like fast twitch muscle for immediate quick adaptation to new things. Others learn slow twitch muscle for long-term knowledge retention. The whole design is meant to ensure that learning a new specialized task doesn't make the AI forget its foundational general knowledge. It's basically a unified framework proposal for continual learning and memory management. Quite theoretical still, but important.
Interesting. Okay, let's shift gears. Moving from these research breakthroughs to actual commercial application, how is that efficiency, or maybe just the raw capability, translating into product releases today, November 8th? Google DeepMind made what looks like a massive move by expanding Gemini's deep research feature. It's now across the entire workspace environment, Gmail, Drive, Chat, globally, right?
That's right. This is clearly Google trying to close the competitive gap with the Microsoft Copilot. And they're doing it by leveraging their huge proprietary data ecosystem within Workspace. The AI can now securely integrate your personal files, your emails, to perform really complex contextual tasks. The example they pushed was asking Gemini to, and I quote, synthesize all emails about the Q4 product launch and draft a response.
Yeah, that definitely transforms Gemini. It goes from being just a search companion or a simple chatbot to a truly context-aware research partner. It's leveraging potentially billions of proprietary data points just sitting there in your personal or enterprise workspace.
Okay, meanwhile, we saw significant activity in industrial automation as well. Primarily, it seems, coming out of China and the UAE today.
Yes, exactly. The Chinese industrial automation firm SUPCon showcased their massive industrial AI platform at ADPEC 2025. That's a big energy conference. And the metric that really matters here is their TPT-2 time series engine. Get this. It's pre-trained on over 10 trillion data points, mostly for forecasting and optimization in industrial settings. 10 trillion. That number, it's hard to even comprehend in terms of industrial data. That's enormous.
It is. And the significance isn't just the sheer size. It's the predictive capability it potentially unlocks in that specific vertical, like energy or chemical processing. This kind of scale likely allows for incredibly complex predictive failure modeling, meaning they could potentially optimize, say, a complex chemical plant's output based on tiny environmental shifts or feedstock variations in a way no human operator ever could. It's moving towards autonomous operations.
Right. And speaking of automation speed, there was Agibot. They announced a new real-world reinforcement learning system specifically for industrial robots.
Yeah, their big claim is that robots can now, quote, master new tasks in minutes, right there on the production line. Now, if that's verified and holds up in practice, that solves maybe the single biggest bottleneck in flexible manufacturing today, which is the huge amount of time and, frankly, prohibitive cost required to retrain robots every time the production line needs to change.
Okay, minutes instead of days or weeks. That would be game-changing for manufacturing agility. And globally, OpenAI made a major strategic play in an emerging market. This seems to capitalize on the new policy environment we'll discuss shortly. They launched ChatGPT Go in India, offering 1-year free access to millions of users.
Yeah, this is classic OpenAI, a very aggressive strategic market entry. It immediately lowers the barriers to AI accessibility in a key growth region like India. And it's apparently designed specifically to work well even with the connectivity constraints you often find in emerging markets. Plus, it helps them secure a massive user base and gather really valuable data on how AI is used in diverse linguistic and cultural contexts. Smart move.
Okay, let's pivot now to the money and the muscle behind all this AI. Chips and infrastructure. This is where that custom chip war truly escalated today, November 8th. It seems driven by the realization that, well, efficiency gains alone won't get you to frontier AI. Not yet, anyway. We're talking about the hyperscalers, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, investing billions to challenge Nvidia's dominance, right?
Absolutely. This is all about avoiding vendor lock-in and controlling their own destiny, essentially. Can these major players really afford the, let's call it, Nvidia tax forever? Probably not, or they don't want to. So Google, for instance, unveiled its new Ironwood Tensor Processing Unit, their TPU, and it reportedly delivers 4 times the performance of its predecessor.
4 times?
Yeah, that confirms the serious capital expenditure required simply to bypass reliance on third-party hardware like NVIDIA's GPUs. They're building their own path.
And the spending just gets, well, exponential when you look at Meta Platforms. They announced plans to invest a staggering U.S. $600 billion, billion of the B, in the United States over just the next 3 years, purely to build and expand AI-dedicated data centers. $600 billion. That's almost the GDP of a small country, to being poured into GPUs and cooling systems.
It's an incredible number. That $600 billion commitment basically tells us that the entry fee for playing the frontier AI game, for building the next generation of models, is now just ridiculously high. It doesn't matter how efficient the software gets, you still need the space. It signals a pure arms race for physical data center resources, space, power, cooling, and of course, the chips themselves. And tied into this, we also have to acknowledge the geopolitical positioning aspect. Reports today from the World Internet Conference reveal that China now holds 60% of global AI patents.
60%. That indicates some serious strategic positioning for future technology standards, doesn't it? Especially when you consider how tightly the U.S. controls chip exports, trying to maintain its lead.
Indeed. It sets up a fascinating dynamic for the future. And speaking of global strategy and positioning, let's turn to policy and governance. This area was really dominated by India today. They released their first comprehensive national AI governance guidelines, built on 7 core principles, which they're calling sutras.
Right, the sutras. And the core philosophy here seems key. They explicitly emphasize innovation over restraint. That's the language they used. The goal appears to be sector-led regulation, rather than a sweeping, monolithic top-down AI act like we've seen proposed elsewhere, which contrasts pretty sharply with the policy friction we seem to be seeing in Europe today.
That's absolutely right. Very different approaches. The Times of India, citing the Financial Times, reported that the European Commission is apparently considering delaying enforcement of key parts of the EU AI Act. Specifically, the draft leak suggests postponing fines for transparency violations until maybe August 2027, and giving companies a 1-year grace period if they breach the high-risk AI rules.
A year grace period. Wow. So pressure from big tech and maybe the U.S. government seems to be slowing the rollout there, potentially weakening immediate accountability for high-risk AI systems across the EU. And you could argue this policy gap or delay is what allows for some of the incidents we'll cover shortly. Meanwhile, sort of stepping back, a Fortune column warned of a deeper economic challenge brewing.
Yeah, the AI recession warning. It frames that critical labor market discussion. The column argues that productivity is surging thanks to AI adoption in some sectors, but U.S. payrolls are remaining stagnant. People aren't seeing the benefit in jobs or wages yet. And Goldman Sachs had previously estimated, remember, that up to 300 million full-time jobs worldwide could be affected by automation. It really highlights that while everyone's busy regulating the risks of AI, maybe we're failing to regulate the social contract around equitable gain distribution. Who benefits?
That's a really important point, the distribution of the gains. And just quickly on the diplomatic front, we saw some high-level strategic alignment between India and the U.S. today. Underscoring that chip war context again, India's ambassador to the U.S. held a virtual discussion with the Intel CEO, talking of collaboration for semiconductor manufacturing in India and joint AI strategies ahead of a summit next year.
Yeah, that high-level engagement is significant. It signals Intel's deep commitment to India's growing semiconductor and AI ecosystem, and it specifically supports India's big push for self-reliance, or Atmanirbhar Bharat, in chip production, which, of course, aligns perfectly with their new innovation over restraint policy framework we just discussed. It all ties together.
It really does. Okay, let's wrap up with incidents and market dynamics. And if you needed any more proof that this policy gap, or maybe just the speed of AI development, is being actively exploited, the OECD Monitor logged 3 separate high-impact AI deepfake incidents just on this single day, November 8th, across 3 different continents.
Yeah, and the details here are critical because they show the real-world operational risk unfolding now. Okay, so first, in India, a deepfake of a politician led to an actual criminal investigation, an FIR being registered by Bengaluru police. The charge cited was provocation with intent to cause riot.
Wow, inciting violence.
Exactly. Then, second, in Russia, an elected deputy apparently used AI to fabricate a political protest video targeting a city mayor. State-level manipulation. And third, in Taiwan, fake videos surfaced claiming floating solar panels were harming water quality. This caused public panic and specifically targeted critical infrastructure policy decisions.
So these aren't just theoretical risks anymore. These incidents demonstrate that AI, specifically deepfakes in this case, has moved from being an abstract risk to being an active, deployed instrument of criminal incitement, state misinformation, and even infrastructure sabotage. Happening today.
It's here, and on the commercial side, related to AI agency, we're seeing both friction and massive spending. We saw reports that Amazon is sending legal threats to Perplexity over its agentic browsing activities. Amazon claims Perplexity's AI agent, Comet, mislabels itself as a standard Chrome browser, which apparently degrades the shopping experience for users. So conflict there.
Interesting. But despite that friction,
Right. Despite that, the market clearly values AI search placement incredibly highly. Perplexity reportedly paid a staggering $400 million to Snapchat.
400 million.
Yep. Just to embed its AI search capabilities within the Snapchat app. That dollar value alone signals that in-app AI discovery is rapidly becoming a massive monetization layer. Big business.
Huge business indeed.
Yeah.
And for enterprises out there looking for more grounded, actionable metrics on AI adoption, what worked today? The customer experience firm Results CX implemented an AI-driven self-service solution built on AWS Q&A bot for a U.S. telecom provider. What were the results?
Well, the outcome provides a really clear metric for successful practical adoption. The solution achieved a 20% reduction in annual operational expenses for the telecom company, the MVNO. And maybe more impressively, a 45% containment rate.
Containment rate.
Meaning maybe almost half, 35%, of all customer contacts were resolved instantly through the AI self-service. No human agent needed. That frees up significant human capital and obviously improves customer satisfaction if it works well.
Absolutely. 20% cost reduction and 45% self-service resolution. That is the definition of efficiency in practice. Tangible results. Okay, let's move to our final minute. Tools and numbers of the day. 2 tools you might find useful available today. First, look up Windsurf's code maps. It's described as a new feature designed to help both engineers and non-technical staff visually represent a code base. The idea is helping new developers get up to speed much faster.
Yeah, visualizing code bases can be tough. And second, for product teams, maybe check out the Pricing Simulator mini app. It sounds like a prompt or a small tool released in some kind of mini app library, designed to analyze potential pricing changes and simulate the impact on customer demand. For quickly testing price elasticity. Could be handy.
Definitely. Okay, our 2 standout stats of the day. And they really reflect that central theme we've been discussing. Scale versus efficiency. First, $600 billion. That's staggering capital expenditure Meta committed to its U.S. AI data center build-out over just the next 3 years. It just demonstrates the immense, almost unimaginable scale of the infrastructure arms race, likely fueled by significant debt.
And the second number, contrasting that scale, 98.7%. That's the reduction in token usage achieved by Anthropic's code execution with MCP approach in that specific workflow we discussed earlier. It really highlights how efficiency, not just raw scale, is increasingly driving core innovation and potentially deflating the need for at least some of that $600 billion down the line.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture then, today, November 8th, 2025, we saw the sheer cost of AI compute, right? Embodied by Meta's $600 billion commitment. But contrasted so sharply with the cost of AI inefficiency, which Anthropic found a way to slash by nearly 99% in one use case. So the final thought maybe is, if the core economic driver of AI starts shifting decisively from maximum scale to maximum efficiency, what does that actually mean for companies currently investing these massive sums in infrastructure today?
That's the big question. And critically, maybe even more importantly, how quickly can enterprise adoption catch up? We know it's currently hampered by the fact that, according to some studies, only maybe 15% of AI initiatives are successfully scaled cross-functionally within organizations. So, can adoption possibly keep pace with this accelerating technological change, both in capability and efficiency? Or is the technology simply moving too fast for the market for businesses to actually apply it effectively and capture the value? That remains the open question.
A really crucial question to end on. We've covered a huge amount of ground today, really digging into November 8th, from Indian policy and global deepfakes, all the way to U.S. infrastructure debt, and those amazing efficiency breakthroughs. We really hope this deep dive gave you, our listener, the crucial context you need to understand the AI landscape right now as it unfolded on this specific day. We'll be back soon to unpack the next stack of sources for you. Thanks for joining us.